Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into something super important that you need to know before your next grocery run. We're talking about 17 supermarket products that will be impossible to buy next month. You heard me right, impossible. Imagine walking through those aisles, reaching for your favorite snacks or essentials, and bam, they're gone. So let's get right into it and make sure you're prepared. First up, we've got canned tomatoes. These little red gems are a staple in many households, often found in pantries across the globe. They're versatile, convenient, and can be used in a myriad of dishes. Now you might be thinking, canned tomatoes? Really? What's so special about them? Well, let me tell you, there's more to this story than meets the eye. But trust me, these little guys are about to become a hot commodity. With their long shelf life and multiple uses, they're flying off the shelves faster than you can say marinara. Word on the street is that there are some serious supply chain issues going down. It's not just a rumor, it's a reality that's affecting supermarkets everywhere. We're talking transportation hiccups, labor shortages, you name it. The entire supply chain is feeling the strain, from the farms where tomatoes are grown to the factories where they're canned. And when those trucks aren't rolling, those shelves start looking pretty bare. It's a domino effect that starts with a single delay and ends with empty aisles. Farmers are struggling to keep up with the demand, and the labor shortages mean fewer hands to pick the tomatoes. This, in turn, affects the supply of fresh tomatoes that can be canned. In the factories, the situation isn't much better. With fewer workers available, production lines are slowing down, and fewer cans are making it to the stores. Consumers are starting to notice the scarcity. Walking down the aisles, you can see the empty spaces where canned tomatoes used to be. It's a sight that's becoming all too common. So if you're a fan of pasta sauce, salsa, or just having some tomatoes on hand, you might want to stock up now before the great tomato shortage of 2024. It's better to be prepared than to find yourself without this kitchen essential. Imagine making your favorite pasta dish and realizing you're out of canned tomatoes. That's a scenario no one wants to face, especially with the holidays around the corner. While there are alternatives like fresh tomatoes or tomato paste, nothing quite matches the convenience and flavor of canned tomatoes. They're a go-to for quick and delicious meals. So take a moment to appreciate those cans of tomatoes sitting in your pantry. They might just be the unsung heroes of your next meal. Next time you're at the supermarket, consider grabbing a few extra cans. You never know when they might come in handy, especially with the unpredictable nature of supply chains these days. And remember, it's not just about hoarding, it's about being prepared. A well-stocked pantry can make all the difference in your cooking adventures. Whether you're a seasoned chef or a home cook, canned tomatoes are a versatile ingredient that can elevate your dishes. From soups to stews and sauces to salsas, they're a must-have. So keep an eye on those supermarket shelves and stay ahead of the curve. The great tomato shortage of 2024 might just be around the corner, but with a little foresight, you'll be ready. Next up, let's talk about flour. Flour is one of those ingredients that often gets overlooked, but it's the unsung hero of the kitchen. Without it, many of our favorite baked goods simply wouldn't exist. I know, it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but think about it. Flour is the foundation of so many recipes. It's the glue that holds everything together, quite literally in some cases. But it's pretty essential for, well, everything. From the simplest loaf of bread to the most intricate pastry, flour is a key player. It's what gives structure to cakes, helps cookies hold their shape, and makes bread rise. Bread, cakes, cookies, you name it, flour is the backbone of baking. Imagine trying to make a cake without flour. It would be a disaster. Flour provides the necessary proteins and starches that give baked goods their texture and form. But here's the thing, those fields of golden wheat that flour comes from, they are the starting point of this essential ingredient. The quality of the wheat directly impacts the quality of the flour, and ultimately, the quality of your baked goods. Yeah, they're not looking so hot this year. Unfortunately, the weather hasn't been kind to wheat farmers. Unpredictable weather patterns have caused a lot of stress on the crops. Between weird weather patterns and some other agricultural challenges, the wheat harvest is predicted to be way down. This isn't just a minor inconvenience, it has a ripple effect throughout the entire food supply chain. The wheat harvest is predicted to be way down. This means that the supply of flour could be significantly reduced, leading to potential shortages in stores. And when there's less flour available, prices can skyrocket. And less wheat means less flour, which means, you guessed it, potential shortages. So if you're planning on doing a lot of baking in the near future, it might be a good idea to stock up on flour now. Otherwise, you might find yourself in a bit of a bind when you can't find any on the shelves. But don't let this discourage you from baking. There are always alternatives and creative solutions. For instance, you can experiment with different types of flour like almond flour, coconut flour, or even chickpea flour. Each type of flour brings its own unique flavor and texture to your baked goods. Exploring these alternatives can be a fun and rewarding experience. You might discover new recipes and techniques that you wouldn't have tried otherwise. Plus, using a variety of flours can add nutritional benefits to your baking. So, while the wheat harvest might be down, your baking dreams don't have to fall. With a little creativity and flexibility, you can continue to create delicious baked goods. After all, baking is as much about the journey as it is about the final product. So keep those aprons on and those ovens preheated. The world of baking is full of possibilities, and a little challenge like a flour shortage shouldn't stop you from enjoying the process. Happy baking. Okay, remember back in 2020 when everyone went a little crazy over toilet paper? Yeah, well, buckle up because history might be repeating itself. Now, it's not quite the same situation, but there are whispers of a potential toilet paper shortage on the horizon. Part of it is those pesky supply chain issues again, but there's also the factor of good old-fashioned panic buying. People see empty shelves, they remember the great TP shortage of 2020, and suddenly everyone's stocking up like there's no tomorrow. Hand sanitizer, still a hot commodity. Remember when hand sanitizer was like liquid gold? Those were the days when you couldn't find a bottle anywhere, and if you did, it felt like striking oil. Well, it might be time to break out those treasure chests again. The demand for hand sanitizer is still incredibly high, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. Even though things have calmed down a bit since the early days of, the pandemic, the demand for hand sanitizer is still way higher than it used to be. It's not just a passing trend, it's become a staple in our daily lives. The demand for hand sanitizer is still way higher than it used to be. Manufacturers are working around the clock to keep up, but it's a tough battle. Everyone's more aware of germs, more cautious about getting sick, and that means more people reaching for that trusty bottle of hand sanitizer. It's not just individuals, businesses, schools, and public places are all stocking up to ensure everyone's safety. The problem is production hasn't quite caught up with the increased demand. Despite the best efforts of manufacturers, there are still occasional shortages. This has led to a surge in new brands and types of hand sanitizers hitting the market. From scented options to those with added moisturizers, there's something for everyone. But with this variety comes the challenge of ensuring quality and effectiveness. Not all hand sanitizers are created equal, and it's important to choose ones that meet health standards. So next time you see a bottle of hand sanitizer, remember its journey from a rare commodity to an everyday essential. It's a small bottle with a big impact, helping us stay safe and healthy in a world that's become more conscious of hygiene than ever before. Whether it's in your car, your bag, or on your desk, that little bottle of hand sanitizer is here to stay, so keep it handy and stay safe. Chapter 5. Possibly problematic, the noodle predicament. Hold on to your forks, folks, because the pasta aisle might be looking a little sparse soon. Remember those supply chain woes we talked about earlier? Yeah, they're back to haunt our beloved noodles. Getting those Durham wheat semolina from the fields to your plate is becoming a real challenge. Add to that the fact that more people are cooking at home these days, thanks inflation. And you've got a recipe for potential pasta shortages. Chapter 6. Rice, baby, a global grain drain. Rice is a staple food for billions of people around the world, but it's facing some serious challenges. From unpredictable weather patterns to rising transportation costs, the global rice supply is feeling the pressure. And when the world's rice bowl starts looking a little empty, it's not just a matter of skipping a side dish, it's a major food security issue. So while you might not see completely empty shelves, be prepared for prices to potentially skyrocket. Chapter 7. Canned soup. Comfort food in crisis. Canned soup. It's quick, it's easy, and it might be getting harder to find. Now, it's not just one thing causing the potential soup shortage, it's a perfect storm of factors. First, you've got those lingering supply chain issues that are impacting pretty much everything these days. Then you've got increased demand because, let's face it, when times are tough, a warm bowl of soup is pretty comforting. Chapter 8. Frozen out the great veggie freeze. Frozen vegetables are a lifesaver for busy weeknights, but they might be harder to come by in the coming months. Remember those transportation and labor shortages we talked about? Yeah, they're back to haunt our frozen friends. Getting those veggies from the farm to the freezer to your grocery store is becoming a logistical nightmare. And with rising fuel costs, those frozen food aisles are feeling the chill. Yeast mode baking's best friend is MIA, calling all bakers. If you're planning on whipping up some homemade bread or cinnamon rolls, you might want to check your yeast supply. Remember the great yeast shortage of 2020? Yeah, well, it's not quite over yet. The pandemic sparked a surge in home baking, and while things have calmed down a bit, demand for yeast is still higher than it used to be. And with ongoing production challenges, those little packets of yeast are becoming a hot commodity. Chapter 10. Cleaning up empty shelves. The great disinfectant drought. Cleaning supplies have been in high demand since, and while we're not facing the same level of panic buying as in the early days, those shelves are still struggling to stay stocked. Part of it is the ongoing high demand, but there are also some production challenges at play. The ingredients for some cleaning products are in short supply, and those trusty disinfectant wipes might be harder to find. Chapter 11. Bottled up, the H2O no situation. Bottled water is one of those things you don't really think about until you need it. But with growing concerns about water quality and the increasing frequency of natural disasters, more and more people are turning to bottled water for peace of mind. The problem is all those plastic bottles require a lot of resources to produce, and the supply chain for bottled water is feeling the strain. Been there, done that, the legume letdown. Canned beans are a pantry staple, but they might be getting harder to come by. Between increased demand, thanks plant-based eaters, and some production challenges, those little legumes are facing a big squeeze. The good news is that beans are relatively shelf-stable, so if you do manage to snag a few cans, they'll last you a while. Meat lovers, brace yourselves. The meat industry is facing a perfect storm of challenges, from labor shortages to rising feed costs. This means that your favorite cuts of meat might be harder to find, and when you do find them, they'll likely cost you a pretty penny. Dairy products are another grocery staple that might be affected by the ongoing supply chain woes. Milk, cheese, yogurt, you name it, it could be harder to come by. Part of the problem is that dairy farming is facing its own set of challenges, from rising feed costs to labor shortages. Eggs are a breakfast staple, but they might be getting harder to come by. The poultry industry is facing a number of challenges, including rising feed costs and outbreaks of avian flu. This means that those cartons of eggs might be looking a little empty, and the prices are likely to crack under pressure. Fresh produce is essential for a healthy diet, but it's also one of the most vulnerable items in the grocery store today. From unpredictable weather patterns to labor shortages, there are a lot of factors that can impact the availability and affordability of fresh fruits and vegetables everywhere. And last but not least, let's talk about snacks. Because what's a grocery run without a little something to satisfy your cravings? But here's the thing, those bags of chips, boxes of cookies, and other processed snacks are facing some of the same challenges as other items on this list. From supply chain disruptions to increased demand, your favorite snacks might be harder to find. That's it for today's video. Make sure to stock up on these items while you still can. Remember, this isn't about panicking, it's about being prepared. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. See you next time.